You live, you learn, you love, you learn, you cry, you learn, you lose, you learn, you bleed, you learn, you scream, you learn. Being a sensitive empath is a beautiful thing as an artist, and it fosters a deep, burning curiosity about why we do the things we do. Well, life has a funny way of sneaking up on you when you think everything's okay and everything's going right, and life has a funny way of helping you out when you think everything's gone wrong and everything blows up in your face. For the ocean is big and my boat is small. Find the courage. Why are you so petrified of silence here? Can you handle this? Did you think about your bills, your ex, your deadlines, or when you think you're gonna die? Or did you long for the next distraction? Fame is hollow. It amplifies what is there. If there is any self-doubt or hatred or lack of ability to connect with people, fame will magnify it. We're taught to be ashamed of confusion, anger, fear, and sadness, and to me they're of equal value to happiness, excitement, and inspiration. Trauma happens in relationships, so it can only be healed in relationships. Art can't provide healing. It can be cathartic and therapeutic, but a relationship is a three-part journey. What part of our history is reinvented and under rug swept? What part of your memory is selective and tends to forget? Stay and respond and expand and include and allow and forgive and enjoy and evolve and discern and inquire and accept and admit and divulge and open and reach out and speak up. This is utopia. I salute you for your courage and I applaud your perseverance and I embrace you for your faith in the face of adversarial forces. I'm consumed by the chill of solitary. Your political views really denote your spiritual views. In a perfect world, there would be no censorship because there would be no judgment. When pain brings you down, don't be silly. Don't close your eyes and cry. You just might be in the best position to see the sunshine. I want to walk through life instead of being dragged through it. These precious illusions in my head did not let me down when I was defenseless, and parting with them is like parting with invisible best friends. I found that the more truthful and vulnerable I was, the more empowering it was for me. I sabotaged myself for fear of what my bigness could do. Running has made being depressed impossible. If I'm going through something emotional and just go outside for a run, you can rest assured I'll come back with clarity. How about not equating death with stopping? I try to keep a low profile in general, not with my art, but just as a person. Looking for approval or blaming others or feeling like a victim. Whenever I feel myself doing that, I try to stop and see myself as someone who's a creator in more ways than just what the word typically means. I'ma leave the bathroom door open, nudist, which is sometimes disconcerting for my friends. What's that line from T.S. Eliot? To arrive at the place where you started, but to know it for the first time. I'm able to write about a breakup from a different place, same brokenness, same rock bottom, but a little more informed. Now I'm older. Thank God for growing up. Kale is my best friend. I eat kale salad. I put kale in my smoothies, kale in my soup, kale, kale, kale. I feel like Popeye. I love it. I definitely need variety or I get super bored. So I have to mix it up with different sauces and tahini or whatever. First I was angry, then spiritual. Now I don't know what I am. I believe we've been given free will and we can take responsibility for our own lives and for creating our own environments, which I think at times can be a little much for people to deal with. We're all ants. I'm a glittery little ant. I think some people think I'm a smarty pants. Some people think I'm intense. Some people think I'm super esoteric and nuts. Music will always be a part of my life. I love music and I don't care how many units I sell. I'm doing it because I choose it, and if it's not working, I can make a change in my life anyway. Anytime that I judge something to be rigidly right or wrong, it comes from fear. With songwriting, I spend a lot of time living life, accruing all these experiences, journaling, and then by the time I get to the studio, I'm teeming with the drive to write. Who I am inside determines how I feel about my body instead of the other way around. It's when someone has an agenda of their own for the record that it doesn't work for me. I saw music as a way to entertain people and take them away from their daily lives and put smiles on their faces, as opposed to what I see it being now, which is a way for me to actually communicate and a way for me to tap into my subconscious. I'm clearly most well known for my music. Eventually, ultimately, I'll be writing books. I'm still writing articles. Now, I just consider myself a writer. I wish people could achieve what they think would bring them happiness in order for them to realize that that's not really what happiness is. Every time I scratch my nails down someone else's back, I hope you feel it. Peace of mind for 5 minutes, that's what I crave. What I wouldn't give to find a soulmate, someone else to catch this drift. I don't want to be your other half. I believe that 1 and 1 make 2. Canada has a passive-aggressive culture with a lot of sarcasm and righteousness that went with my weird messianic complex. The ego is a fascinating monster. I was taught from a young age that I had to serve, so that turned into me thinking I had to save the planet. Freedom lies at the heart of my willingness to lose everything. So forgive me, love, if I cry in your shower. So forgive me, love, for the salt in your bed. So forgive me, love, if I cry all afternoon. Courage and willingness to just go for it, whether it is a conversation or a spontaneous trip or trying new things that are scary. It is a really attractive quality. The joke that you laid in the bed, that was me. I hear you're losing weight again, Mary Jane. Do you ever wonder who you're losing it for? Oh, these little rejections, how they add up quickly. One small sideways look and I feel so ungood. Somewhere along the way I think I gave you the power to make me feel the way I thought only my father could. I highly recommend getting older. There's less tendency to people please. I think it's irresponsible when celebrities imply they're doing it all themselves. My son has aunties and uncles around all the time, and my husband is my hero. He's really full on. I couldn't do it any other way. The ego is a fascinating monster. I'm a liability to them. I'm a woman, I'm empowered. I'm an artist. I've had executives who can't come to my shows, they're so scared of me. I've been a thorn in many people's sides just by existing. A good man often appears gauche, simply because he does not take advantage of the myriad mean little chances of making himself look stylish. Preferring truth to form, he is not constantly at work upon the facade of his appearance. When I start writing songs and it turns into an overly belabored intellectual process, I just throw it out. I live with some of my best friends from high school, very commune-like in my house. It's my hippie way of life. Long hair is a security blanket for me. I cut it short a few years ago, and I really never want to do that again. When I do cut it, I cut it myself. I can be in the worst PMS, Mercury in retrograde, most awful circumstance, and then if my girlfriends and I are giggling about it, everything's okay. I have as much rage as you have. I have as much pain as you do. I've lived as much hell as you have, and I've kept mine bubbling under for you. Let's be outspoken. Let's be ridiculous. Let's solve the world's problems. I'm quite obsessed with the idea of nailing the girl friendship. It's such an art, so delicate, that I would be loved even when I numb myself, that I would be good even when I am overwhelmed, that I would be loved even when I was fuming, that I would be good even if I was clingy. When I'm off the road, my husband and I recharge our batteries. It's a day of deep rest and connection with the spiritual, and that can be anything, going for a walk in nature, being in silence, burning incense. I am a firm believer that one way to become enlightened is to be so relaxed as you possibly can be. I was extremely moved by the plight of tsunami victims, and I was inspired to try to make a difference. My parents offered me the idea of ceilinglessness. There was no limit in terms of what was possible, no messages sent to me to say that I couldn't do anything. When I'm in pain and grief and despair, my throat is clenched and my heart hurts. Infidelity is a deal breaker for me. I've broken up with people over it. You can't do monogamy. 90% of the time. Profanity is merely an expression of one's emotions. Writing a song doesn't heal things. Even if the song comes up with a solution, it's still only a theory. Going out and living my lyrics is a whole other deal. That takes courage. When we think of digitally disconnecting and inviting presence into our lives, we are creating the conditions of integration within and between. I was motivated by just thinking that if you had all this external success, that everyone would love you and everything would be peaceful and wonderful. I could get away with not taking care of myself as a bachelorette, but as a mom, I can't. I have a profound empathy for people who are in the public eye, whether they manifest it themselves or whether it happened by accident. It doesn't matter to me. I think there's a great misunderstanding of what it is to be famous. I was left to painstakingly deal with the aftermath of my avoidance later in life, in therapy or through the lyrics of my songs. Partnership is the way. Dictatorial when lose is so old school. Whether you're checked in or checked out, you're always on a spiritual journey. I get angry at myself for staying in relationships way too long. When someone has a very urgent response, I think it just means that it's triggering something in them that they may not necessarily want to think or talk about, which I see as a positive thing. The more vulnerable and the more confused the song is, the equal and opposite effect is how I feel after having written it. Getting married and starting a family has been a lifelong goal and one that I have persevered through different paths up to it. I think quite spiritually of myself. I feel like I'm here to support the human evolution. I'm excited about there being more of a sisterhood these days. Back in the 90s, there was a lot of hate. The women I looked up to as artists were dissing me. It's not so patriarchal these days. There's more love and a lot less hate. But I love to entertain. My vocation is to accrue all these experiences, to write about them, to get them out of my system, to not get sick, and then to share them publicly. I would never judge someone's intrigue with the spoils of fame because I went through that. My brother says that I was writing songs about fate while he was off playing soccer. Now I tell him he's 33 and being a professional while I'm playing soccer with my friends. I was always such a people watcher. I would sit on street corners alone and watch people and make up stories about them in my head. Then, all of a sudden, I was the one being watched. When someone says that I'm angry, it's actually a compliment. I have not always been direct with my anger in my relationships, which is part of why I'd write about it in my songs, because I had such fear around expressing anger as a woman. I can't not write. If I don't, then I get really depressed. We eat when we're full, and we hoard all the rest. With our hands on remotes, we say, yes, we're the best. I still indulge in a glass of wine, or chocolate treats are mandatory, without deviating from the day-to-day healthy diet once in a while. It wouldn't be sustainable for me, and that's what I wanted. An approach to eating to last my entire life. Anytime there's separatism going on, it happens all the time, because the illusion before us is that we are separate. It gives us this sense of egoic identity, which is lovely in its own way. It's exciting for people to define who they are in relation to what I write, whether it be by loving or hating it. I am what I am. Are you what you are, or what? I started writing songs when I was really little because there were things I could say through songs that I couldn't verbalize any other way. Writing was something I had to do. Breakups are a horrible thing for almost everybody I know. For someone who is a love addict, it's debilitating. Beauty is now defined by your bones sticking out of your decolletage. For that to be the standard is really perilous for women. Music helps you find the truths you must bring into the rest of your life. The person who knows how will always have a job. The person who knows why will always be his boss. Alanis Nadine Morissette, born June 1, 1974, at Riverside Hospital in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, the daughter of Georgia Marion Feuerstein and Alan Richard Morissette. Her older brother, Chad, born 1971, is an entrepreneur, and her twin brother, Wade 12 minutes older, is a musician. Their father is of French and Irish descent, while their mother, who fled Hungary in 1956 due to the failed anti-Soviet uprising, has Jewish ancestry. Alanis Morissette is a Canadian, an American singer, songwriter, and musician. She began her music career in Canada in the early 1990s with 2 dance pop albums. In 1995, she released the alternative rock album Jagged Little Pill, which sold more than 33 million copies globally and propelled her to become a cultural phenomenon. Morissette won the 1996 Grammy Award for Album of the Year, among other accolades, and the album was adapted into a 2018 rock musical. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has Jagged Little Pill on their 200 definitive albums list, and it appeared on various editions of Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time guide. Its lead single, You Ought to Know, was also included on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time list. In 1977, the family moved to Lahr, in what was then West Germany, where Morissette's parents started working as teachers at the local CAF base. They returned to Ottawa in 1980, and Morissette began taking dance lessons the next year. Morissette had a Catholic upbringing. She attended Holy Family Catholic School for elementary school and Immaculata High School for 7th and 8th grades. She appeared on the children's television sketch comedy You Can't Do That on Television for 5 episodes while attending the former. Morissette then attended and graduated from Glebe Collegiate Institute. Morissette followed up with the highly anticipated experimental album, Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie 1998. Her 5th album, Under Rug Swept 2002, marked the first time Morissette was the sole producer of an entire album, taking further creative control and production duties. Morissette continued her career with subsequent studio albums, including So-Called Chaos 2004, Flavors of Entanglement 2008, Havoc and Bright Lights 2012, Such Pretty Forks in the Road 2020, and The Storm Before the Calm 2002. Her first 3 internationally released studio albums topped the Billboard 200 albums chart, and her next 4 albums peaked within the top 20. Morissette has sold more than 75 million records worldwide. She has won a Brit Award, 7 Grammy Awards, 14 Juno Awards, and has been nominated or 2 Golden Globe Awards, and a Tony Award. Her singles You Oughta Know, Hand in My Pocket, Ironic, You Learn, Head Over Feet, Uninvited, Thank You, and Hands Clean reached top 40 in major charts. Around the world, she also holds the record for the most no 1 second on the weekly Billboard Alternative Songs chart among female soloists, group leaders, or duo members. Rolling Stone described her as the queen of alt-rock angst, and VH1 ranked her the 53rd greatest woman in rock and roll. In 2005, she was inducted into Canada's Walk of Fame.